I love serving. I serve on the photography team. I love doing it because I get to capture special moments within our church and also get to show like the outside church what we do. And this upcoming year, I want to be more in discipleship. I want to find a group and dive in more.
So I serve here at GC for a multiple of reasons, but I think the main reason is it gives me a great opportunity to meet a lot of new people here. Greeting people, whatever that is. I know that when I first started coming to GC, about the third time I came through, Miss Sherilyn Hodges, she was standing actually by the door, and as I was walking through the parking lot, she hollered at me. She said, "Good morning, Robert." And I actually didn't know who she was. I didn't know her name. I knew who she was with, but I didn't know exactly who she was, and that meant a lot to me. So that gives me that opportunity of serving, meeting a lot of new people, just greeting them, welcoming them to the church, and keeping this place a safe place to worship. So the area I want to grow in actually ties into my own personal word for the next year, and it is finish. So this year I started a lot of really good books and didn't finish them. So that's my goal for this year, is I want to grow in finishing what I started. I want to start a book, I don't want to finish it. I want to start a book, a study or whatever with my family and finish it. That's what I'm growing in this year.
1, in G Kids, and 2, I'm also new to production. In G Kids, I love seeing the faces of our kids. You inform them of so many great new things, and then on top of that, I learn from the kids. And 2, in production, I want to sound really, really good for God. One area I want to grow in a little bit more is more intentionality with my own personal family. Sometimes I tend to slack on that.
I would say I serve. I know I serve because, I mean, that's what we're about here, you know, be like Jesus, be with him, and do as he did. And I mean, time and time in the Gospels, I just see that, you know, people stopped to serve Jesus and he allowed them, but also like he stopped to serve other people. And I remember a time in my life where I felt like I had nobody, and it was the men who stopped to take refuge with me and just put their boots on and willing to serve me, walk me out of the mess I was in. And so I'm just honored to do that for other people. One area I want to grow in, I would say listening more. I usually don't have a problem being the first to speak or, you know, talking for a long time, but I really want to show people that I love them by just hearing what they say, not just what I want to say. So definitely listening for me.
Well, the reason for what I serve is because I want to follow Jesus' example. When he came to the earth, he came to serve, and so I want to be like him, do what he did, and so that's the reason that I serve. And also I want to show Jesus' love to these people that comes to church. And for this next year, what I wanted to do is like surrender myself more to God, and just trying to be more like him.
I serve on the social media team because I want people to see just a glimpse of what's going on inside, and for people to get closer to God and just to see the next steps that they can take. One area I want to grow in is just consistency, praying more, reading on my Bible more, relying on God instead of relying on myself.
So I serve because it's an opportunity to use my time and God-given talents to serve and reach, His people. So this coming year, I want to grow deeper in my faith and actually be a student of the Word rather than just kind of casually engaging in it.
I serve because I know whenever I first started coming here, I was really shy and it was really hard making friends. I thought Pastor B talks a lot about getting in a community with other people, and we don't really have any family up here, so I really wanted to meet new people, and I thought a good way to do that would be joining a team. I felt like the skills that I have, I could bring to the table and be of service to Jesus and to my fellows here at DC. This year, I'm definitely going to be growing in my spiritual practices. I've already started. I'm already doing this a lot more reading and praying and meditating and stuff like that, but I really want to grow more on studying the Word instead of just like reading through Scripture. I want to learn how to actually study and break apart what God has written for us to learn. So I'm excited.
I serve because I was once a first-time guest. So I serve at guest experiences and the host team. And so I want somebody else to receive a smiling face. And also I just feel so much love from other people also when I serve. And I want to give that same love and smile and hug and touch to somebody else on their first day, their second day, their 500th day. I just love to make people feel welcome. So my word for the year is humility, which is really scary. But I just feel like there are areas in all of our lives where pride just comes up, and it's not necessarily in the obvious locations, but sometimes it's just that little hidden voice that makes you feel like you're a little bit elevated more than what you should be. So I want to grow in humility for 2025.
For me, it means everything. To be able to show the appreciation that's been shown to me from God, and for me to be able to repay back what He's done for me. So the one area is to just know more about Him. You draw closer to Him.
So I serve to build community within my church, and also I know that specifically in the Next Steps teams, a lot of my friends aren't going to walk up to some adult stranger that they don't know, but if I'm standing there, they're more inclined to come up to me and talk to me, and then I can try and convince them to get connected with the church, and I find that to be an amazing opportunity. And also, it's just another way that I can build a relationship with Jesus and within my church. So I have two answers, and they're kind of the same, but intentionality and intimacy with God. It's very easy to come here in public, on church, on Sundays, on Wednesdays, and to proclaim myself as a Christian and act like I'm righteous and like I have a deep relationship with God. But it's a whole nother thing to do the same thing alone in your bedroom. Like, instead of playing video games for hours on end, I can spend those hours with God and just building a relationship with Him. But most definitely that, and being intentional. And that kind of goes back to my serving, because if I'm not serving with intentionality, it's more like a job and not serving.
8-9 years ago, my wife, I kept getting lights blasted in my face, and my wife told me that I needed to stop complaining about it to her, and I needed to start doing something about it. So then I started serving. Once I started serving, it was more of like I feel called to be like a facilitator. And specifically in production, I feel like that's like kind of embodies like facilitation. We're kind of here helping other ministry, like enhancing other ministries. And, same with lounge. Like, I like to serve in lounge because I'm helping parents kind of experience Jesus the way that I do through serving, by helping make sure their kids don't, hurt themselves during while they're serving. Evangelism. I just started a new job a couple weeks ago, and I had an interaction with a customer where I was at her door, and she was like looking very distressed. And so finally I was just asked her, it's like, hey, like, what's wrong? And she kind of goes through some problems that she's going through. And then I asked her if we could pray for her. And that kind of gave me the realization that I really have like an opportunity to like really spread the word with what I'm doing now. And I want to kind of dive into that.
I serve because I love coffee and I love Jesus, and I think that serving is a great opportunity to mix both your passions and also connection with others. Just being available, making myself more available to saying yes to God and how He'd like to use me. I'm very busy, and it's very easy to step aside for other opportunities. So I just want to be more available just to say yes.
What's up, Generation Church? Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We're so glad that you're joining us today online. Happy New Year. Man, 2025, here it is. We're so excited to be in a new year and a new vision for our church this year.
That's right. And if you're new with this, we want to thank you for logging on for the first time. Every year we do this to kind of honor our volunteers and our staff. We take a Sunday off just to kind of let people be with family, spend time in community, and just really take almost like a Sabbath for the year because, man, we have so many volunteers that work so hard. People dedicate so many hours to our church bivocationally. And so, man, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Jess and I both are so grateful. We're so many volunteers that maybe we don't even get a chance to meet sometimes. But we are so thankful for your dedication, and I pray that you guys are enjoying your family time, enjoying this time to have a little bit of a downtime as we get ready to jumpstart 2025.
In 24, our vision was being available to Jesus. And so I'm excited to see and to learn how people have been available to Jesus this past year. But some things that we have seen is being available to prayer this past year. And it's been amazing to see the prayers that have been answered this past year with us being available.
Yeah, it's been amazing. We talked about making room for prayer through our 24-hour prayer experiences. Man, we've seen so many powerful prayer requests answered. We actually got to pray for Miss Miriam, and it was awesome. She needed a heart transplant, and if you know anything about that process of getting a heart transplant, sometimes that can be long. It can be really a grueling process. And man, she was able to get a heart fairly quickly. I don't know how long she was in the hospital, but it really wasn't that long, just a few weeks. And then, man, her body took to the heart almost immediately, and she was actually able to come home within a few weeks, and it was incredible. And so that was just a huge prayer request on our church's heart, that we saw God do an incredible miracle in and through the prayers of his people. And I love what somebody said recently. They said, because really 2024 has been a year where we've had to pray for really a lot of heaviness, whether it's sickness, cancer, you name it, we've had to pray. And what's been incredible is, like, it can feel like, man, why are we walking through so much heaviness or hurt or burdens? But somebody said, you know, because God knows that we're a praying church, he is trusting us with these situations because he knows that we will pray and that we will partner with him to see his will come, his kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven.
Yeah, and this year our church was available to community. We opened up D groups or discipleship groups for our entire church this year, and so many people took that next step, and it's awesome to see people diving into community, deeper community, and diving into the Bible together. When we dive into God's Word, it brings us together, and I just love to see people growing in God together.
And in 2024, we made ourselves available for new mission partners. We were able to make a huge impact through partnering with a new partner called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. We're able to build and deliver beds for kids who do not have beds to sleep in. Not only that, we were able to build relationships with the detention centers in Sumner County and in Nashville. We were able to help plant a brand new church in Bowling Green, Kentucky called City Lights Church, Pastor Brendan Washington, and seeing them make an impact there in Bowling Green. And not only that, also our local schools. Man, we've been able to really build a better partnership there, and even see FCA come to one of our elementary schools here in Portland. And then also a local homeless ministry that we've been able to kind of establish a relationship there. And so, man, I'm really blessed and honored to serve with a church who is really taking serious to say, I want to make myself available and make room for God to use me to help make an impact in our community and beyond. When we talk about practicing the way of Jesus, where we live, work, and play, we are seeing that play out. I mean, we're seeing that play out even in through our students, where we're seeing people like Colin, man, who is able to invite a teacher, one of his teachers, to come to church. He kept inviting her. Finally, she came to see what it was all about, and she started staying faithful and coming every Sunday. She ends up coming to Christ, getting baptized, and she has her own student. She has Colin baptize her.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff we are seeing. We're seeing these kind of impacts being made through our kids, our students, And man, it's been amazing to watch God move in 2024. And so much so, we want you guys to check out just a few of the stories, and then we'll talk about what's coming in 2025. So check these stories out.
My name is Isaac West. I started attending 6 years ago. I also serve on Wednesdays at youth, and then on Sundays, I'm either in the big production or G-Kids production. So I've been attending for 6 years, but I've really been involved with the church and attending for the past year. My story starts with me being broken. I just quit my job. Me and my dad's relationship was rocky. I was just very hurt, and I was partying a lot. I was very in this world every weekend. I say I used to live for the weekend. But one night I was driving home from work, just broken, crying. Just a normal Tuesday night for me at that time. And I finally just said, God, you know what? I don't know. I don't know what else to do. And so then I told him, like, all right, I'm gonna read my Bible. I'm gonna come to church. The ball's in your court. Let's see what you can do. And what's really cool, actually, I don't know how many people I've told this, but my first Sunday back to church, I walked in the doors and I just said, God, show me you're real. Like, I believe you're real, but show me that you have the power to work. And that is the Sunday, the third experience that we had like 20-something, 30-something baptisms. That's that Sunday. And it's so cool because not only was I expecting God to work in my life, but he turned around and was like, you know what? You want this from me? I'll go way better. I'll save this many people. So through that, I was instantly like, okay, you showed me, that's all I needed. So then I quickly got connected to youth. I quickly started attending every Sunday. Then I started joining a small group, and that's really where the most transformation has come from, is just being in community of people who, one, are going to hold me accountable, but two, are going to have the same drive and the same mindset as me. And so after that Sunday, I then joined youth, joined a small group, went on my first mission trip, and that was also very moving, just because we went to Honduras, and there were a lot of kids there who only had a soccer ball. And I remember having a conversation with one kid. I said, what do you like to do? And he said, kick soccer. I was like, oh, what else do you like to do? And you're like, kick soccer. And that kind of made me realize that that's all he had. But then watching that kid through that mission trip, he was the most happiest kid ever. And to watch someone with no materialistic things, but be filled with the more important spiritual things, honestly was that changing moment where all I wanted to do was serve people and serve the Lord. So through that, I would say, has been the biggest of my year, is the mission trip and that Sunday. I would say start where I start. Start going to church. But don't just start going and being a back row Baptist or someone who doesn't want to be seen. I would say go and just be you. Just show people who you are. And through that, people are going to love you. People are going to be there for you. So then through that, you're going to slowly build community, which then is going to build you to serve and build you to worship and build you just your relationship with God. But I would say start showing up to church vulnerable.
I'm Kane Punzalan. I've been coming here for almost 5 years now, right after COVID. But I'm a student leader here, which is an amazing opportunity that Tyler and Lindsay gave me. And I grew up in a Christian home, but it wasn't really my faith. And I struggled with loneliness, and I felt that I didn't have love in my life, like I felt unloved. And what stemmed from that is I felt I had no purpose. And a reason for that would be my brothers. Like, I'm the fourth brother, so I felt like I always had to follow them. And I did not enjoy doing what they enjoyed, but I did it anyways because I felt like I had to. I had to fit in. I had to be just like them. And so I didn't enjoy life. and I fell into depression and isolated myself from my friends and my family. And one night I actually took my dad's gun and almost took my life. But praise be to God that I didn't. And he saved me that night. I didn't know it was him, but I found out later. I still struggled with depression for a long time after that. But last year, I started coming to youth and I started building community. And I remember one specific day, Youth Conference 2023, I met Deacon Braylon, Lana, Isaiah, and I became friends with them and I built community with them. And I started feeling the love of God through them. And it's so beautiful, man. Just like thinking like they made themselves available. And because of that, I was able to feel the love of Christ. But then BOTS 2023 was the first time that I truly encountered the Holy Spirit. And it moved so powerfully. It like convicted me so deeply. And it like, I'm shaking right now just thinking about it. Just like, I'm so excited. I find so much joy thinking about it now, but I felt so much clarity and joy and peace in that moment. I didn't have to live for my brothers. I didn't have to live for my parents. I could live for Christ. Someone who's going to fulfill me so much more than what the world tells me to do. And that filled me with hope. And that made me want to love people the same as Christ loves me. So I could be that for somebody. And I have two communities. I have my Portland community and I have my Franklin community. When I finally said yes to God and made myself available, I was able to plant seeds of Christ in my friends, and that eventually led to one of them coming up to me who I didn't even realize like I gave the impression of Christ to, and he was like, "Hey, I'm reading John right now." And I was like, "Oh, really? That's great." And the next weeks or so, I invited him over to study it, and we were sitting there getting in the Word, and we got like 6-7 chapters in, and we got into this super deep talk about Christ and what he's done for my life. I was able to witness and give my testimony, and that led to him wanting to pursue Christ. And I remember after he went home, I was just laying in my bed, and I was just so grateful for the opportunity that God gave me to reach him. And God was like, "What if you did that for the rest of your life? Would you find joy in that?" And I just answered him instantly like, "Yeah, I would find so much joy in that." And so now he's leading me on my call of ministry. And last week, I was able to reach another one of my friends, and I actually baptized him. And I was so grateful. And it's like, all because I said yes that one night. All because of that, he's done so much, not only in their lives, but in my life tremendously. Like I'm kind of riled up right now thinking about like where I used to be and where I'm at now. Like, I can truly say that I find joy in every single day, and I find peace, and he brings rest to my eyes and to my soul. And God is just so beautiful. Like, man, if you just say yes, all it is was just a yes. And I didn't know what I was saying yes to, but I'm so grateful that I did. And now I have deep community, and I'm rooted in this church, and I can pursue a life of Christ, and I find that like so amazing, you know. But yeah, I know it can be hard to say yes to something that you don't know what's going to happen. But God is a loving God, and he cares for you deeply. And everything that you do, whether you say yes or not, will lead to his glory. And there will come a day where you meet your Creator face to face, and you will feel the love of the Father.
My name is Austin Pels. I serve in runners for G Kids, and I attend a D group that we meet on Mondays with the rest of the men's community.
I am Jessica Pels, and I currently lead the runners classroom with G Kids, and I'm also leading a small group on Tuesday nights. So for me, I dealt with a lot of sexual trauma in my life starting at 6 months old. And it happened throughout my life as I got older. Through my childhood, growing up, when it comes to church, I was in and out of church. Well, my mom forced us to go, and there was a lot of tension with it. So we had a lot of religious trauma growing up.
So for me, story of getting here, I grew up in a single parent family, didn't know my dad. So I grew up with a single mom, have an older sister, and my mom did the best she could to raise both of us by herself. Didn't grow up in church and just kind of floated through life at that point. Met my beautiful wife when I was 23, and we knew we were going to be together for a long time pretty quick. Fell in love with her. We got married in 2015. Had our first child in 2016, and then a couple of years ago, we had a miscarriage in 2020, and that put us in a very low point in our lives. Did a toll on our marriage.
After that, things from there just kept getting worse. My depression and anxiety got really, really low, and ended up cutting my family off, and was just making a lot of stupid decisions. I even got involved in drugs, smoking weed and things like that every day. And I was not doing the things that I should be doing. I was in my kitchen, in the pantry, and I heard God speak to me. And he was like, "What are you doing? This is not who I called you to be." And I broke down crying, and I felt such a change immediately just by hearing him. It was overwhelming. It was my voice, but it was just this overwhelming emotion and just everything that I felt, and like the darkness that I was feeling just like went away. And it was crazy because I felt it so much in my life. And I was always so against church, and I went to Austin and I said, "I feel like we're being called to go to Generation."
And so we came in, loved it from the moment we walked through the door, and started actually practicing spiritual disciplines at that point. Started actually reading the Bible, got involved in community, and it's completely changed my life ever since.
I quit smoking and all the stuff that I was doing and straightened up, and I fell in love with Jesus. And he took something so messed up that he never gave up. He's been calling me for a long time. But that was the first time that I stopped and listened, and I really heard him. And everything changed. He was all that I needed.
Yeah, it's amazing just to get to be able to be a witness of. I love her to death. No, I don't want to say this wrong, but like to see where she was to where she is now.
It was bad.
It's Jesus. Like it's absolutely amazing to see how much joy she has now. You can see the joy coming out of her, and it's just awesome to see that, and how such a loving person she is. How she truly loves me, or kids, and anybody she comes in contact with. It's a light that I get to see every single day, and I absolutely love it.
Wow, what some incredible stories that we just heard. And those are just a few stories. They're not even all the stories of people's lives who have been impacted or transformed just in the past year. Jess and I are forever grateful that we get to be a part of something special here at Generation Church. And while we are always a church that celebrates the faithfulness of the past, we are also a church that celebrates moving forward. We never want to get stagnant or comfortable where we're at as a church. In fact, here we are, we're almost 13 years old. In March, we will celebrate 13 years as a church. We launched March 4th on 2012. And here's what's amazing, is that God has done all kinds of incredible things, and we can be satisfied with that. I mean, we can just keep doing church as is, status quo, if we want. And while I love Sundays, I love where our church is at, I just believe God has in store immeasurably more than we could ask or even imagine what he wants to do through Generation Church. And so I believe we have an incredible opportunity for maturity in this next year. In fact, if you were at Vision Rally or a part of our Vision series, I said that we have an opportunity for 3 specific renewals. One of those renewals is a renewal of a rule of life or discipleship pathway as a body of believers, as a whole. Remember, I said that most churches don't have a section on their website that says how we live. What I want to do is introduce to our church over the next 2 years, what is our way of living as a church? What are the 8 or 9 practices as a church that kind of define who we are? And I believe the second renewal we have is a renewal of holistic discipleship. Not just intellectual, not program or event-based, but really mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, all encompassing. How do we take the person that God has created us and continue to follow Jesus and be formed into his image through discipleship and spiritual formation? And then, of course, I believe we have an opportunity at a renewal of community-based mission. And so here's how we laid that out. We said in the next year, our vision is to grow. Now, if you know that doesn't mean that we're talking about growing in width, though I do believe God will take care of that. God will always grow his church. I believe in growing deeper. And there's 3 aspects of this that are going to help us accomplish those opportunities at renewals. We said we're going to grow in maturity. And that means really looking at our church at year 13 and saying, where do we need to grow up? And we're talking about developing elders and deacons that you're going to see rolled out in January. We're talking about growing in maturity in the sense of we're going to be introducing in January and over the next 2 years, like I said, our rule of life as a church. What are the 8 or 9 practices that we are going to basically go on a journey together in small groups and in community and discipleship groups to do this together. And we're going to say, listen, as we concentrate on going after the presence of God and becoming truly just passionate about his word, his presence, we believe as we draw God, God will draw people. And that's what we're focused on in the next year. Number 2, we said we're going to grow in multiplication. I believe we can be a regional church when it comes to developing future leaders and pastors. And one of the things we're rolling out in the next year is Discipleship Training Institute, or what we call DTI. You'll hear us say that. And that is basically a lay member's opportunity at some sort of seminary. It's cheap, it's affordable, it's an 8 to 9 week semester, 2 times a year. And we're getting ready to roll out signups and registration and all of that, because that will start in February. But not only that, we are really anchoring down on creating some sort of alpha type program for non-believers or new believers. How do we take somebody from when they're not even a believer in Jesus all the way to now they are going to be fully followers of Jesus and engulfing themselves in discipleship? We want to make sure we have something from beginning to end on how we are taking somebody from their first decision to follow Christ all the way to the end. And we're excited about rolling that out. But also just focusing on leadership development and actually asking God, send laborers. The harvest is few. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. That is a prayer that Jesus had. And so we need to pray that God would send laborers. And so as we continue to develop people through DTI, through our leadership pipeline, through elders and deacons, and through just our community-based groups, we talked about we are getting ready to revamp even our discipleship group model, where it is all-inclusive in formation, not just Bible study. And then we said we're going to grow in the 3rd area, and that is mission. And we said that, we are going to really focus on how do we as a church, if we are involved in community, which means we are either involved in some sort of small group ministry or some sort of discipleship group, How are these groups doing local missions? Outreach and local missions or local reach or even international missions should not just be something that's an option on the table. It should be a way of life for followers of Jesus. How are we interacting and basically encountering the vulnerable, the poor, those who are in prison, those who are in desperate need of believers filling those spaces with their time, their resources, and their efforts? And so those are the three opportunities we have. And one of the ways that we're doing this with Mission 2 is we're saying this is how we can help fulfill this, by building phase 3. Now, you guys have probably seen some of the drawings, some of the early drawings that we are getting ready to hopefully in the next few months get solidified with the city. But we need your help. We showed you guys this is going to be an 800 to 900 seat auditorium. This is going to help increase our next gen space, including their community space throughout the week, and including our adult community space throughout the week, doubling as our reach center, a counseling center, and a training center regionally for leaders, pastors, and continuing to develop people in their formation to Jesus. We have an opportunity to build something special. You guys have already seen us fulfill some of those things we've been working on the last 2 years. In the spring, we're getting ready to have a ribbon cutting on our disc golf course. It is actually complete, but nobody really wants to play disc golf in December. And so in the spring, we're gonna have a ribbon cutting for our John Roberts Memorial Disc Golf course. You guys saw us open Generation Coffee Co., which is designed to create third space and community in our church. Guys, I wanna thank you for your generosity, but now it's time for the last challenge I wanna give you. We've talked about we have an opportunity for renewal. We talked about how we're gonna grow in 2025. Now I wanna ask you to participate. And there are several ways that you can participate. One is, I want you to know the mat offering is still going on. You can actually give towards that mat offering anytime throughout the year. We have a specific time of the year that we focus on it, but I want you to know that it is available to give to at any point throughout the year. And as you give to the mat offering, I want to remind you that, man, last year we took up somewhere around $270,000. But I want you to know that the actual number of givers to that is minuscule compared to the number of people in our church. And I would just ask you, what could we all do if everyone who called Generation Church their home did two things? One, you gave a one-time gift to the mat offering, or even throughout the year, as maybe God blesses you, you want to give toward this expansion and this opportunity for growth. Or two, take a next step in giving. Maybe you're not a consistent giver at our church. You're going to see on this video a link where you can go right now and give towards the Make a Difference offering or sign up to start giving. But I want to encourage you also to take a next step. And for you, maybe that's saying like, man, if I'm going to fully participate, that's more than just attendance on Sundays. That's taking a next step towards joining our Discover path and maybe becoming a partner of Generation Church, maybe becoming somebody who wants to consistently give, and also join community in the church. And so that's something you can do right now. You're going to see a next steps link in this video. Do that right now. And be a part of what's happening here at Generation Church. The other thing I want to challenge you with is show up next week. January 5th, we're kicking off our brand new series called The Way. And this series, we're going to be diving into this entire year of what it means to really practice the way of Jesus corporately as a body of believers. We're actually going to give you an invitation to basically go along on this journey together in your small groups. Not every small group will be doing this, but every discipleship group is going to be challenged to do this. And that is, we're going to be going through the same curriculum for the next 2 months and practicing the way of Jesus. And we're going to be walking through the sermon together and also walking through a couple of the practices that we're going to be talking about in January and February. I want to challenge you, show up for the entire series. And then also, we're getting ready to jump into 21 days of prayer and fasting. That also begins January 5th. You're going to see a link right here on the video to go to our fasting and prayer resources to help you. Maybe you've never tried fasting before, and this is an opportunity for you to do that. You're also going to see on the site a video that explains what fasting is and kind of a teaching that I've done on fasting before to help equip you to fast. And it's also going to be a practice we're going to talk about in January. And then of course we culminate 21 days of prayer on January 24th, 25th, 26th. January 24th and 25th is our 24-hour prayer experience. Put that on your calendar from 6 p.m. that Friday night to 6 p.m. the Saturday night. Man, this place is open for people just going after God in prayer. And then, of course, on January 26th, that evening, on Sunday night, we will have our annual worship night, and that is worship and prayer. If you've never been to one of our worship and prayer nights, it is so incredibly powerful when you see a room full of people who are all there with one unified purpose, and that is to go before the presence of God, seek his face, and to lift up his name. A lot of exciting things coming for 2025. And here's how we say this, church. You don't get to always determine the next steps in the vision. God lays that out for the leadership of our church, but here's what we do get to decide together, and that is the speed of the vision. And so I truly believe in the next year, we can see us get ready to be in position to break ground on phase 3. But that's going to require your involvement, your generosity, and most importantly, your prayers. That God would provide big time givers, that God would provide leaders, laborers, people who say, man, I'm all in with this local body of believers to say, man, we are going to resurrect family trees for generations to come through discipleship to Jesus. That is what we are about. So church, I pray that you celebrate all that God has done in 2024. I want to wish you a happy new year. I hope you've had an incredible time with your family. Thank you for all of those who serve, give, and are a part of this community. And I pray that you have enjoyed your time off, but let's come back next week, January 5th, and let's be ready to jump into the Way series and be ready to fully engage with what God wants to do in and through us in January 2025. Pray with me, church. Father, right now, thank you for an incredible year of ministry, an incredible year of favor and faithfulness, an incredible year of seeing miracles, healings, all kinds of things that you have blessed our church to be a part of. Lord, I pray that we would continue to be a church that is a praying church, not just a church that prays. And God, as this vision hits the hearts of your people, I pray, Lord, we would say, what must I do to be a part? How can I participate? God, as we have these opportunities for renewal, and as we have this opportunity to grow, I pray that you would challenge each and every person listening, including me, to ask ourselves, what do I need to do to grow in maturity, multiplication, and mission in 2025? And we ask this in Christ's name, amen. Church, I love you. Can't wait to see you guys in person next week. God bless and Happy New Year.